the first thing you would feel is not the teeth. It would be the ocean leaving your body. A megalodon could close its jaws around prey more than twice your height, driving rows of serrated teeth through flesh, bone, equipment, and hope in a single violent bite. But imagine the bite does not kill you. Imagine the pressure throws you backward, and the shark's mouth folds around you like a closing steel trap. Then, with one muscular gulp, you disappear. No sunlight follows. No rescue signal escapes. Your world becomes a moving tunnel of muscle, darkness, and salt water. Ahead is a throat built to carry hundreds of kilograms of prey. Behind you, the jaws are already gone. You are not swimming inside a monster. You are being transported into a biological machine that evolved to turn living animals into energy. And the most terrifying part is this: the stomach may not be the first thing that ends you. The first enemy is the air already trapped inside your lungs. Megalodon lived millions of years ago, so no human has ever witnessed its attack. Every detail must be reconstructed from fossils, living sharks, biomechanics, and the demands of physics. Its teeth could exceed 18 centimeters in height. Its jaws were not just large, they were a coordinated system of cutting blades, anchored in multiple rows and continuously replaced. Some estimates place the shark at around 15 to 20 meters long, although its exact maximum size remains debated. Even at the conservative end, its head would be taller than a person. Its bite was designed for whales and other enormous marine animals. A human would not be a challenge. A human would be a fragment. But survival stories are built on the impossible moment. The tooth misses the brain. The ribs do not immediately collapse. The body is dragged through the mouth instead of crushed. For a few seconds, you remain conscious. You understand the scale of the mistake. The animal is not attacking you because it hates you. It does not know you are there. It is simply completing a feeding response. The mouth is not a cave. It is a conveyor belt. As the shark snaps shut, its upper and lower jaws rotate into alignment, and the teeth pull inward. The surrounding water erupts with the movement. Then the shark begins the next phase, suction and transport. Sharks do not chew like humans. Their teeth cut, grip, and release. Muscles in the throat and mouth help move prey toward the esophagus. If you somehow avoid the main tooth rows, you are still surrounded by hard surfaces covered in denticles and slime. Every impact can break a bone. Every second of thrashing spends oxygen, and thrashing is almost automatic. Your brain is screaming for movement, but movement cannot create an exit. The opening behind you has already disappeared into the shark's closing jaws. In front of you, the passage narrows. The water is warm compared with the deep sea, dark with mucus, and violently pulsing. You may be picturing a giant hollow throat. The reality would be worse. The throat is a living tube, squeezing in waves. Each contraction pushes prey deeper. Each failed attempt to resist turns your body into another part of the motion. Your first countdown is not to digestion, it is to blackout. An adult at rest may use roughly 1/4 liter of oxygen each minute. Panic can multiply that demand. The lungs fill faster. The heartbeat accelerates. Carbon dioxide rises in the blood, creating the desperate sensation of suffocation before oxygen is completely gone. Inside the shark, there is no breathable atmosphere waiting for you. There is only swallowed seawater, digestive fluid, and a shrinking pocket of air in your lungs and clothing. The pressure is not the same as the crushing pressure of the deep ocean, because the shark's body is not a rigid diving chamber, but the passage squeezes. Your chest cannot expand normally. Your position changes. Water enters your mouth and nose. If you were wearing a mask, it would flood. If you carried a tank, the regulator might be torn away or jammed by the walls. The oxygen gauge becomes a terrible clock. 16 minutes in an open water emergency might sound survivable. In a constricted, violent passage, it is not. Panic, injury, and carbon dioxide shorten the calculation. Before the stomach, the brain begins losing the fight. Now consider the animal's behavior. A megalodon was probably not swallowing every meal whole. Its teeth and jaw mechanics suggest a predator capable of taking enormous bites from large prey, then returning for more. Some prey could be swallowed in pieces. Some smaller animals may have passed whole. That uncertainty matters. A complete human-sized swallowing event is biologically possible only as a speculative scenario, not an established behavior. Yet the digestive system of a large shark gives us a credible map of what happens next. The shark's mouth connects to a short esophagus, then to a powerful stomach. Modern sharks can hold food for long periods, and their stomachs can expand to accommodate large meals. Their digestive chemistry is strong, but it is not instant acid. A living body would not vanish in seconds. The nightmare is slower and more mechanical. You are trapped in a dark chamber that contracts with the animal's movement. There is no stable floor. Every wave rolls you against wet tissue. Every muscle pulse changes the pressure. If you survived the passage, your body is already injured, oxygen-starved, and exposed to a chemical environment it cannot tolerate. The stomach is where the fantasy becomes chemistry. Its exact acidity cannot be measured in an extinct shark, but living predatory sharks provide a useful comparison. Shark stomachs can reach a very low pH, often estimated around 1 to 2 when actively digesting food. That is comparable to strong gastric acid in other vertebrates. The acid begins by denaturing proteins. In simple terms, it unfolds the structures that give muscle and connective tissue their shape. Enzymes then cut those proteins into smaller molecules. The stomach lining is protected by mucus, bicarbonate, and tightly joined cells. You have none of those defenses. Skin burns. Eyes are especially vulnerable. The airway spasms as acid and fluid enter it. But acid alone is not the fastest killer. The stomach contains little or no usable oxygen. You are submerged in fluid. Your lungs cannot exchange gas with it. Even if the chamber contained a pocket of air, it would be contaminated with carbon dioxide and vapor, and its volume would shrink as you breathe. The HUD on your mask would show oxygen falling. 10 minutes. 5. 1. The numbers would not feel like science. They would feel like a verdict. Could you cut your way out? Almost certainly not. The stomach wall is made of several layers of muscle, connective tissue, blood vessels, and a protected inner lining. It is flexible, but not fragile. A knife would meet thick living tissue, then be lost in the folds. Even if you created a wound, the shark's immune system and the stomach's constant contractions would not produce an open door. You would also have to survive the forces around the cut. The stomach is not a silent bag. It churns to mix food with digestive secretions and move it toward the intestine. In a giant shark, the absolute scale could be extraordinary, but scale does not create an escape route. It creates more walls. The same is true of a dive tank. A tank might delay unconsciousness if its regulator and mouthpiece survived the bite and transport. But compressed gas does not solve pressure, injury, or corrosive fluid. A full face mask might preserve vision for a few moments. Then the lens clouds. The seal fails. The display becomes useless. Survival biology is brutally simple here. Oxygen buys time. It does not change the destination. The intestine introduces a different danger. Digestion is not only acid, it is absorption, movement, and the gradual removal of water. The stomach passes liquefied material into the intestine, where enzymes continue breaking it down. A living person in that environment would face chemical burns, drowning, heat, infection, and catastrophic trauma. The body would lose the ability to regulate its temperature and blood chemistry. The brain would fail first from oxygen deprivation and rising carbon dioxide. Loss of consciousness would come long before complete digestion. That distinction matters. Popular images often show a victim awake for hours inside a shark. Physiology is less theatrical and more frightening. The nervous system has limits. Once oxygen to the brain falls far enough, awareness disappears. The heart may continue for a time, but the person is no longer experiencing the chamber. The shark does not need to dissolve a human completely to gain energy. Digestive enzymes and muscular processing separate usable nutrients from indigestible material. Bones, teeth, synthetic fabric, and equipment move through the system differently. In the darkness, the body becomes a problem of chemistry and transport. But there is one detail that changes the entire scenario. Sharks breathe by moving water across their gills, not by breathing air into lungs. The Megalodon would have needed a constant flow of seawater through its mouth and out across its gill slits. That flow is powerful enough to move a person, but it does not mean the inside of the animal is oxygenated. In fact, the stomach and intestine are separated from the respiratory stream. The water passing over the gills supports the shark, not you. The animal can continue swimming while your oxygen disappears. This is the cruel asymmetry of the encounter. Its body is optimized for motion, pressure, and extraction. Yours is optimized for a narrow band of conditions at the surface of the sea. Your lungs need air at the right pressure. Your blood needs oxygen. Your skin needs protection. Remove those three things, and size becomes irrelevant. The shark does not have to overpower you every second. Its anatomy has already done the work. The throat transports. The stomach isolates. The chemistry dismantles. The biology of the predator becomes an environment with no human-compatible exit. There is also the question of the bite itself. A megalodon's exact bite force is unknown because bite force depends on size, jaw shape, muscle reconstruction, and how the teeth engage the target. Estimates vary widely, but even conservative models describe forces capable of crushing or slicing the bones of marine mammals. The teeth were broad, triangular, and serrated. Their edges worked like repeated blades. If the bite caught the torso, survival would end immediately. If it caught an arm or leg, blood loss and shock would become the next clock. In cold water, the body can lose heat quickly. In the shark's stomach, the danger shifts from hypothermia to overheating and chemical injury. There is no single cinematic instant that defines the event. It is a chain of failures. The bite damages the body. The swallow removes air. The stomach removes time. Every stage is supported by anatomy that does not need to be perfect, only effective. The rarest version of the scenario is the one where you remain alive after entering the stomach. And even there, the science gives you no plausible path to survival. So could a person ever be swallowed alive by a prehistoric megalodon? The honest answer is that we do not know, and the most likely attack would kill or dismember the person before swallowing. The dramatic scenario is a thought experiment built from real constraints. It shows what happens when human physiology meets an extinct predator designed for enormous prey. You would not be trapped for days, shouting through a transparent stomach. You would lose breathable air first, then consciousness. Then the distinction between body and meal would disappear. The megalodon itself would remain unaware of the story being written inside it. That may be the coldest detail of all. We imagine monsters as villains because a villain gives disaster a motive. Nature does not need one. A shark can turn a whale into energy without anger, cruelty, or hesitation. Millions of years later, its fossil teeth still carry the outline of that process. They are not just weapons. They are evidence of a world where survival belonged to whatever could take the largest bite. And somewhere beneath the imagined darkness, one question remains. If the ocean could hide a predator this large once, what else have we failed to see?